stream also on YouTube. I'm preparing to stream on YouTube.
So I'll
Um,
just wait here until you tell me to give my little speech, and I shall.
no issues.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's time, and I'm super excited about this program. So today is the first, the day one. Or can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Osinakachi Akumakala, and for those who don't
Yes, we
know
can
me,
hear you.
um, okay, thank you so much. So today's the day one. We're starting the Afrolongevity um, educational program, and we've been trying to do this. And Professor Natasha Vitamore had encouraged us to spend more time regarding the educational program. And she's been with us from the foundational, the formative state of Afro-longevity. She's attended most of our events, and she's been there helping in structuring our educational program. And she sits in our ethics and educational board. She also chaired the competition that we did last in 2023, and she's been very supportive. And I wouldn't want to say much. You've read so much about Professor Natasha Vitamore from the group on Facebook and all that. So she's here live and direct. So most people call her the goddess of transhumanism. She wrote a whole lot in the past. She set the tone for transhumanism, and she's been also helping us in structuring concept that we use and how we place the concepts in the transhumanism, in longevity, and all that. Most of you had commented you wanted to be like her. She's here. Today is not her presentation, but she's going to set the tone as a professor, an expert in the field. Thank you so much, Professor Natasha. The floor is here.
Thank you very much, OC. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to just say a few words. So thank you so much for giving me the time and your attention in introducing this marvelous program. So with no further ado, welcome to Afro-Longevity Movement Educational Program. Today is November 14, 2025, and I'll start over. Now we're recording, so I want to start from the very beginning, and I'd like to welcome everyone here online and in present to Afro-Longevity Movement Educational Program. I'd like to congratulate all participants for being part of an historic first Africa's longevity education. So in short, we'll just call it Africa's Longevity Education. I'd like to emphasize that this program represents Africa's entry into the global longevity revolution as contributors shaping the next era of health, science, and of course, ethics. Longevity matters to all of Africa because Africa's wisdom through all people of all ages, but especially the youthful population, has a unique opportunity to build a longevity-oriented culture. All over the world, there is an urgent need to reduce premature death or mortality arrived at from chronic disease and slowing down biological aging through. I'm going to ask everyone, please turn off your mics, okay?
Please, if you are not speaking, kindly mute yourself.
Oh, I think you can mute everyone. Just go.
Yes, yeah, I've done that. So you can unmute yourself, Prof, and then continue. Thank you. No, kindly unmute yourself. You're muted.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much. I think someone's unmuted. Okay, let's just start. And these things happen with online and virtual connections that oftentimes there's noise in the background, but we can get through that. That's so almost insignificant compared to everyone being here and what we're going to be talking about. The fact that longevity does matter Do you want to start the recording again? It just
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah, I'm streaming already. I'm streaming, so continue.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think the
Um,
recording stopped, so you want to start it again, just so you have this.
okay, Cloud. So go ahead.
Great. Okay, here we are back again. This is really wonderful. And I think this is very endemic to aging itself. Sometimes things happen with our bodies and our minds that we just haven't anticipated, but here we are with some illness or another, and the aim is to be as healthy as possible so we can overcome the illnesses that we all get um, on a yearly basis, and some of us more often than others, and some of us who have healthy countenance, not so much. But regardless, as we age, we will probably get some form of an illness because of degeneration, and that's what this is all about. We want to move away from premature death and chronic disease and slow down the biological aging through ardent projects such as this, through education and community action that not only sets a precedent, but urges us all to consider the choices that we're making in our daily lives. In our daily lives, longevity is not about living longer only. It's also about living as healthfully and purposefully as possible. There is a strong connection between the field of science and Africa's indigenous wisdom. The blending of modern longevity science, such as advances in artificial intelligence, the awareness of epigenetics, and the growing field of regenerative medicine, along with indigenous knowledge systems, such as a diverse set of traditional practices that have sustained African societies for centuries, through Africa's biodiversity and herbal wisdom, hold global answers for everyone, no matter where we are on this planet. And here, Africa has not only an opportunity, but a truly honorable position. With this in mind, let's talk about the African sensibility of its indigenous history and wisdom, and the Afrolongevity movement educational program structure, its purpose, and its educational platform. The series covers 6 different primary areas: longevity science and each person's personalized longevity practice, medicine and health span, indigenous knowledge and nutrition, medical law and policy, leadership and ethics, and centenarian studies, the studies of people who live beyond 100. Here, the goal is not just educational information, but the transformative process of knowledge in equipping every participant to influence local systems, clinics, and communities, and how we live healthfully and purposefully. What can we do today to put aging at bay, to reduce the death rate, and to help people become healthier in not only their daily lives, but live healthier through any of the unexpected consequences of degeneration in our bodies, which comes about with aging? The role of the African longevity movement is continent-wide. It's an alliance of thinkers, clinicians, herbalists, researchers, and youth determined to improve health span and to redefine aging. The aim is to encourage a national, state, and campus chapters to act as hubs or information centers of longevity advocacy and applied learning. Each participant here is developing a message, a very, very strong message. Through our experience, our knowledge, and our fortitude, we are taking this very seriously because each of us, no matter our backgrounds or our geographical location, is in the first cohort of building Africa's Longevity Foundation. With the aid and the knowledge of all those who are participants and citizens of the various countries in Africa, we can all work towards this through taking knowledge to the next steps. We can see ourselves as purveyors or pioneers or leaders of a generational shift in how people will design not only our lifestyle, but our body for the future, how we will apply artificial intelligence, regenerative medicine, and the different omnics, and pursuing a sensibility that slows down the degenerative process of aging, not only in our human body, in our biological system, and our cognitive awareness, but also in the human culture, these societies that shape who we are in our traditions and our beliefs, and the network of systems in not only the education and governments, the infrastructure of Africa, how it will be 50 years from today. What are we seeing today that can build an Africa of the future, that we can really say, I was part of that. I helped build that. And that's what Afrolongevity is doing. So what starts here will shape Africa tomorrow and shape how Africa realizes its own aging process. What type of people will be around in the future that look at longevity as not just something we strive for, but something that is part of our nature, something that we esteem as a way of living with the value of life, the preciousness of life, and being as healthy for as long as possible. In my closing statement, I'd like to share a quote that I wrote about a year ago about all of this, and it really touches me deeply, and I hope it touches you as well, that biological aging is the ultimate pre-existing condition, and we have the tools now to slow it down, to halt it in many instances, and reverse it in other instances. This is just a beginning. And with this in mind, let's see this movement forward and remind the world that Africa's greatest wealth is its people, and the longevity is its new freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Natasha. That was an amazing presentation. I've written a whole lot of things, Every time I'm around you, I I seem to learn more and add a little that I know. Um, Professor Natasha has been mentoring me ever since that I got to meet her. She's very passionate about Africa. She's interested about Africa, and she understands what it means to be in Africa in this age and time. So thank you so much. Please don't forget how, quote, biological aging is an ultimate pre-existing condition. We need the tools to slow, halt, and reverse it. You can ask her a question on when is the time that she's presenting again? No, at the course of the program. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So now we get into the first presentation. Please permit me to welcome the CEO and the co-founder of Afrolongevity in the person of Omoseko Brenda Ramokopela. Thank you. Brenda, are you there? Meantime, Brenda should be at present travel about our movements. She traveled for a longevity event where she was networking and talking about this. She traveled to Mauritius to talk about what we are discussing in this meeting, because we aim to expand our footprint across the continent, and mobilization, grassroots mobilization is key, which is why we are here. Brenda, I am ready when you are. Okay.
Okay. Hi everyone, and apologies. I have connection issues where I am, and will therefore not be on camera because I realize that it is the one that keeps kicking me off. But thank you so much for everybody who has made the time to be here. and join us in this amazing program to discuss longevity in Africa and understand exactly what the mission is about and wanting to be part of the change that we're trying to do here. The only disadvantage to me speaking now is that I'm speaking after Dr. Vita Moore, who is an amazing speaker and, you know, one of those experts that we really want to model in this industry. So my talk is going to be about Afrolongevity and what it is. And maybe just to, to start, I'm just gonna touch a little bit. I know that over the next few days and weeks, there's going to be the real discussions on the science of longevity, the science of aging, and what it means to all of us. Today, I only want to touch on how we approach longevity from an African point of view. So to start that off is just for everybody that is here, so that we are on the same page in terms of what we are talking about when we're talking about longevity and what is longevity science. So as you know, there is medical science that is focused on treating diseases, and there's geriatrics that is looking after, you know, how do you care for the elderly, you know, from a social impact point of view. Longevity science, in a way, I keep saying it is transdisciplinary. It touches on all those aspects, but focuses on proactive approaches towards extending health span. And therefore, and as a result of your health span increasing, the lifespan also increases. And this is done through scientific innovation and interventions that are aimed at just increasing your vitality. So it's not about making sure that you grow old and stay, you know, age for a long time. It is about increasing your health span so that as your chronological age increases, you also enjoy the quality of life. So that's what longevity aim and focus is on, or longevity science focuses on. So there are 3 dimensions to this, as scientists will tell you over the few weeks, is that it focuses on prevention of premature death, which is caused by age-related conditions. If you think about your cancers, your Alzheimer's, your cardiovascular diseases, that is caused by the damage to cells and causes premature death. The other dimension that longevity really wants to deal with is to ensure that there is life extension as a result of your health being extended. And also, how do we reverse aging, in the sense that, in the understanding that aging is a disease, and therefore, if we deal with that disease, it means that we can reverse that aging. So those are the 3 main dimensions that aging looks after. So therefore, Afrolongevity wants to really advocate for that, educate about that, also promote education around what longevity is all about, influence policy as far as healthcare is concerned in Africa. But it does that by redefining how the healthcare system is in Africa. We are, as Natasha alluded to, wanting to combine Africa's rich heritage in traditional healthcare, because we've been doing this for a long time. And over the years, it has sustained our people. It has taken care of us. It has cured us of diseases. How do we integrate that with cutting-edge scientific progress that we see today? We need to realize that our indigenous knowledge is just as important as the other knowledge that we are getting in this day and age. And it is very essential for us to realize that healthier, longer future for our population that is very, very diverse, that is youthful, and also we've got an increasing aging population that is coming up, because as we improve our healthcare system, it means people stay alive longer. But the question is still, do we have our life expectancy increasing? Does that have direct impact on our health expectancy or our health span? So we need to look at both, not be just excited about the fact that our life expectancy is increasing. What about our health span? That is what we want to focus on. Just with that in mind, now we need to look at where we are as Africa, where we are in the different countries that we've got. We've got 55 different countries in the continent, diverse in culture, in language. Their economies are absolutely diverse. Their regulatory system are totally different as well. So at this point, I want us to just look at the healthcare status of Africa on average. We have a significant health challenge. I think everybody who is here can agree when I say that the healthcare system that we have, or what is believed to be the healthcare system that we have in Africa, is actually just sick care. As Usinagashi said, I'm at a conference now where there are global leaders talking about longevity. People from the United States are complaining about sick care. People from Europe are complaining about sick care. Here in Mauritius, they are complaining about sick care not being healthcare. But we know that where we are in the mainland in Africa, it is even worse, where our infrastructure is not what it should be. It is aging and it's not being replaced nor maintained. We have the regulatory system that is not enabling. There's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy as far as policy in terms of what needs to happen to allow innovation in the healthcare system. Our life expectancy, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, because that is just another indicator that is showing how failing our systems are. That healthcare system, bad as it is not even accessible. Africa is mostly rural. Some of our grandmothers and our mothers that are in the village, they are not able to access healthcare. And when they are able to access that little bit that they can, it is not quality healthcare. So you find yourself in a country, if I give an example of South Africa, where you are dealing with the haves and the have-nots, that we are told when we look at the strategies for each and every government in the continent, they're saying they want to be equitable, they want healthcare to be accessible, but we are not seeing that on the ground. We don't have adequate health education in our communities. And by this, I'm talking about the actual patients that the healthcare system is supposed to be taking care of. If I don't know how to take care of myself, regardless of what the doctor tells me when I'm sick, I'm going to do that until I get better, and then I go back to my old ways. There's no continuous learning and continuous education on the importance of lifestyle, on the importance of what we eat, on the importance of taking care of oneself, so that we can make sure that we live longer, we can make sure that we live healthier when we are old. We have a very young population in Africa. And as we know, young people most of the time tend to think that it's something that only affects the elderly. It's not going to affect me. And they tend to take for granted, things that are important as far as lifestyle is concerned. And there are no reminders in communities that, even if they are told at school that you need to take care of yourselves, what are the things at home? What are the things in the community that remind you, that enable you as a young person to stay healthy and also help your parents or help your community to be healthy? So those are the most important things that we need to ensure that are there, which are definitely lacking as far as how we approach health in Africa. It is seen as the responsibility, one, of the government. It is seen as the responsibility of the medical aid insurances. It is seen as the responsibility of the healthcare practitioners. But at the end, we, the individuals, are the people that are being affected by by the disorders that are experienced. If your parents are sick, it means that you need to take care of them. If you are sick, it's going to be costly for them. It means they need to take care of you. So no matter how you look at it, we are going to be affected by this, and it's something that we really need to take very seriously. Coming back to the life expectancy of Africa, when I think we mute some people.
So unmute yourself and continue.
Oh, okay, thank you. So when we look at the life expectancy in Africa, it is the lowest in the world. You've got, I think about 4 or so countries in the north of Africa that are, trailing around the, 75 average in life expectancy and 77, like countries in the US or countries in Europe or in the global north, in the developed in the developed continents. The question is, why, if it is possible for some countries in Africa to have that high life expectancy, what is it that is stopping the rest of the African countries to be at that level or to aspire to that level? Because this is an indication that it is possible in Africa. So that is something that we need to look at. I mean, if you look at, countries like at an average life expectancy of 55, that's very, very low. And across the world, it is women that are living longer than men. We need to understand that. What is the reason for that happening? Is there anything that we can learn from that? If we look at other African countries, there are, Chad is at 53.7, the lowest in the continent. I see there's a lot of participants from Nigeria here. It's also sitting at 53.9. One of the biggest countries in Africa, the giant of Africa, with a huge population, young population. It is something that, honestly, if we put our effort to it, it can change. Africa, South Africa, for example, it is seen as one of the most developed or developed in Africa. But still, our life expectancy is still sitting at 62.9. So it means there's a lot that still needs to be done. And also, not just, again, like I said, increase the life expectancy. Let that be a byproduct of the health span that we have increased. Because what is the point of living longer if you're going to be in pain? If you ask any elderly person who is around the age of 90 and frail and in pain, or having one of these comorbidities, if you ask them, do you want to live longer? They will tell you, hell no, I don't want. The reason for that is because they will tell you it is painful. They will tell you they don't want to be a burden. So the key here is we need to get to a point where we can grow old chronologically, be independent, be able to do things for ourselves, and be able to be productive. So what is it that is needed in Africa for us to be able to do that? One, we need innovative approaches that will be able to combine our traditional practices, because they are very, very important. That's who we are. And we have seen those traditional practices sustaining our parents from a long time ago up to now. Simple things like eating food that we have cultivated, natural food, simple things like exercising. Our parents used to, have jobs, they had hard labor. So exercise was part of their daily lives. I am by no way promoting poverty and, working hard unnecessarily, but I'm saying, they stayed active. So what is the alternative of that in this day and age that we can incorporate into our daily life? We need to look at the environments that you see. The reason why you see people mostly in rural areas that are still adhering to the traditional practices, living longer than some of us that are in the cities, is because where they live, there's not a lot of pollution in the environment. Where they live, they're still relying on nutrition that is natural. Where they live, they still use their hands, they stay active. They wake up early in the morning, they go to sleep on time. Sleep being very, very one of the important elements to ensure that you stay healthy. So sometimes it doesn't need, modern biotechnologies. It doesn't need expensive therapies. There are things that you can already do in your environment that, especially for us in Africa, without resources to afford those therapies, because at this point in time, they're still expensive. There are things that we can do. So those innovative approaches that combine traditional practices with modern science, and make sure that we combine that and leverage the potential synergetic benefits. Also, we need to have an approach that doesn't only address the current health challenges. There's a lot of focus in our health systems on curative, not necessarily preventative health. We need to start understanding what are the causes of these diseases, cure them or deal with them at root cause, because that will help us to lessen the burden or the cost that we are incurring as a result of being sick later. So if we, the saying goes, if prevention is better than cure, it is so true, especially when it comes to health. So if we put a lot of those big budgets that we allocating to, treating diseases, and I'm not saying treating diseases should be abandoned. I am saying this can be done together. This can be done in parallel. The amount of money that you are putting into treating diseases, there should be a portion of that is allocated for research in preventing diseases, in regenerative medicine, in rejuvenation medicine. So, those things are very, very important. So we need to look at the strategies and the policies that we have at government level and within our communities and see what we can do to ensure that we have a health system or a health sector that really takes care of the well-being of our people. When we talk about healthcare, it becomes real. It becomes healthcare in the true sense of the word, and that healthcare is accessible to all Africans. We also need a practical roadmap for those policymakers. I often say at these conferences that I attend that it's pointless to have a room full of scientists talking to other scientists about the science that are going to affect the people that are not in the room, because then it means that science will stay in the lab. we need to start translating these things. It needs to be translated out of the lab into the hospital or into the clinics, where the practitioners or the clinician can start applying these therapies. It needs to go out of the clinic into the community, where we understand what it means to take care of ourselves, where we understand what are the preventative measures that we can already put in place to ensure that our visit to the doctor is not only when we are sick, and it's not repeated because we are sick, but it is repeated because we want to prevent the diseases, we want to prevent the sicknesses. Gone are the days where, well, it's still happening now, but I think with the new with the new generation coming in, we need to start looking at things where you don't go to a doctor only because you are sick. You need to go to the doctor when you are healthy, and do assessment of where you are health-wise and ensure that you can maintain that. If there are any indicators that you might be sick in a year or so, we need to be able to have interventions that will keep that disease away. So proactive healthcare is very important. And it can really lead to substantial improvements in the health outcomes in the African continent. So with all of that said, I'm sure by now you understand what Afrologevity's focus is on. We founded Afrolongevity specifically because, one, we understand longevity is a need and imperative for all humans across the world. It is more important even for us because we know the issues that we are having from a healthcare system in Africa, right? But we didn't want to just take what is being done outside of Africa, adopt it, because it might not work for us. Our environment is different. Our genetic makeup is different. The factors, internal and external, that affect health in our bodies are totally different. So we need to really focus on saying, yes, we want longevity, we want to collaborate, we want to work with our global partners and learn from what they're doing, but we also want them to learn from the African practices. We also want to innovate from Africa so that those solutions become accessible to us. Those solutions are fit for purpose for our people. So our vision is really to foster a world where longevity is accessible for all Africans through sustainable health practices, right? It has to be inclusive as well. It has to be innovative, and that innovation has got to be home brewed. We need to ensure that we start putting together the infrastructure that is required to build the systems. We need to come up with therapies that can help our people to live better. Our mission is really to empower African communities by integrating what we know about wellness from a traditional point of view or cultural point of view with cutting-edge longevity science. So by so doing, we'll be promoting healthier and longer life across all generations. We've got a very, very rich biodiversity in Africa. We've got plants that are medicinal. So from a nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals, we are able to put this together and come up with therapies. We just need to be intentional about what we want to do and start to take our health seriously. So our value proposition is that really Africa is the answer to global longevity. It is the cradle of humankind, and we really see it as a possible future for humanity. It offers scalable and sustainable health solutions, and we can be able to create affordable health solutions that can benefit both our people here in Africa and also can be a contribution from Africa to the world. So how do we approach all of this from an Afrolongevity? So as you know, Afrolongevity is an NGO under TAFFD, which is a science and technology organization that pioneers, is a pioneering think tank, and we are action-based. So through Afrolongevity under TAFFD, we really want to advocate for all of these things that we are talking about. We want to spearhead the initiatives that are at the bringing science and technology together, because as you have seen, there's a lot of technology tools now that are used for diagnostics. A lot of technology, AI tools, wearables that can, tell you that can collect your health data that can be used in research. So there really is that need for us to integrate science and technology, and through TAFFD and Afrolongevity, we would like to bring those two things together, and we've been doing this for a while. That is why we've got all of these global leaders in these different environments that we speak to, collaborate with, so that we are able to have discussions about future focus topic, and be prepared for what's coming down the line. And through the research that is done in longevity science, we really want to benefit Africans that are living in Africa that are in the diaspora, and also people that might not be of African descent that are living in Africa and are affected by the internal and external environment here. Because at the end of the day, longevity is for humanity. It's not only for a select few. And we want to close those health gaps that we're talking about using education. Our institution of higher learning, our institution at primary level, do not really have focused or formalized health curriculum, right? If I take South Africa as an example, because that's where I'm from, you get only from primary school up to high school, you've got, subjects that are talking about health, but in a very lax way. I know that I have to have to exercise. I know that I need to eat healthy, and you usually find this in private schools. When you go to public schools, it's neither here or there. I mean, even the food that you see them feeding the kids, I don't think anybody checks to see the nutritional value in the food that is being eaten. So we need to start there. And then you go to institutes of higher learning. Not a single institute of higher learning in the whole African continent offers longevity science programs. Not even one. And this is something that from an Afro-longevity point of view, we really are pushing for, to ensure that we also have a longevity center. We have longevity centers of excellence where people can go and educate themselves about longevity, and also can help us with the innovation in this biotech research for Africa. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And part of that is us going into the communities and doing the education as well. So outreach becomes very important. That is why we always reach out to the different ambassadors across the African continent, and we are still wanting to have a lot of ambassadors in the different continents that are also advocating for longevity, that are supporting the mission. And the reason for that is that we cannot claim to know what's happening across the continent. It is too big. 1.4 billion is not child's play. And I said, we are so diverse that I cannot claim to know what's happening in Nigeria when I'm in South Africa. The person in Kenya cannot claim to know what's happening in South Africa or in Botswana for that matter. So working with ambassadors within the country, we tap into their insight and we are able to work together to come up with the solutions or to do the education or promote research and development that. So I think the key element for us is to leverage the African biodiversity. And we want to make sure that that integration happens at government level, at community level, in the sector, in the professional sector as well, at academia, so that we can really advance science and address the gaps that we have in the continent. We want to reduce the disparities that we are seeing in healthcare by promoting affordable preventative care and also strengthen the healthcare equity, which we can see and that it doesn't exist. Even for the countries that are coming with the universal health care, and I know we are implementing it here, but when you look at the recommendations, you are starting to ask yourself, how exactly is this thing going to be implemented? It is, the thinking might be, might be right, but it is when you start to implement and when you start to write policy, that's where the crux is. And this is where, together with our ambassadors, we need to start getting involved, where we can influence policy as far as healthcare is concerned, so that we can reduce this economic strain from untreated and age-related diseases, where all of the healthcare budget is allocated. Another thing is for us to promote the knowledge transfer. All of the collaborators that we're working with, an example is all of these experts that are going to be coming and delivering their lectures. We want to ensure that the knowledge is transferred so that we can translate it, one, in our own languages, in the way that we understand it, as long as we ensure that it is fit for purpose and it is used in the way it was intended. So knowledge transfer is important so that we can create the workforce and enable that intergenerational knowledge exchange. Also, tapping into the skills of these older generations. We don't just want to stay alive forever for nothing. We want people that will stay healthy for long so that they can stay productive and, can be able to also, share the skills that they have gained over time in their experiences. We know how important, having, an elderly person around is. Imagine if that person is healthier. Imagine if that person is more productive. They are not seen as a burden in your household. So that's what we're aiming for. Also, we really want to boost economies of our countries, because with longevity, transdisciplinary as it is, it means that it taps into so many different sectors. When we start to talk about infrastructure, these diagnostic tools that are going to be, preventative, that are proactive. When you start thinking about, building longevity clinics alongside the current clinics that we are having, there is job creation. When you start promoting for natural food production, that means that from the agricultural point of view, you are tapping into that. When you start introducing AI tools, the wearables, whatever the case might be, there is innovation, technology, and this is what we get excited about. So it has so many layers that from an economic point of view, there's a huge opportunity that if we really pursue and promote longevity in Africa, it will be really beneficial, not only from a health point of view, but overall from an economic point of view. And also, we want innovation that is focused. I think I've spoken about this, I cannot speak about it enough, that whatever innovation we're coming up with, it has to be fit for purpose. It has to not only be something that is used, something we need to not just adopt, we need to adapt. It has to be something that works for us. And also look at, the different ways that it can be used. Just because it's healthcare, it doesn't talk about only clinics. What about those fancy therapies that can be had? How about that being part of what we do so that we can promote medical tourism? Africa being the center of excellence in medical tourism globally, where people, when they think about an amazing therapy that they want to do, Africa is what they think of, because they're going to go there, get excellent healthcare. Over and above that, go on safaris. We've got amazing tourist attraction in Africa that are unique to Africa. So we can combine all of that and build industries just based on longevity. But for all of that to happen, because it looks like such a big elephant, it's not something that we can do in isolation. Like I said, we need ambassadors that can work with us, from community to profession, academia. We also need public and private partnership. That is very important. Without government, regulating or giving regulation that is enabling, we won't be able to go far, right? Without private sector funding the research that needs to be done, because whether we like it or not, it is the private sector that has got the money, and we need them to be able to deliver what we intend to deliver. We are not going to go anywhere. So we need that collaboration. Global collaboration in longevity is especially important. This semi-emerging field, this is a field that every scientist in the longevity field across the world is still grappling to find the solutions, the therapies, and all of that. But if we bring our knowledge together, we can get to the goal much faster than if we work in isolation. So that's very important. Not forgetting, back home, our indigenous knowledge systems. That is very important. Gone are the days where we dismiss that as witchcraft. Gone are the days where we think herbal medicine is not useful. We now know, this has been scientifically validated, that plants, food, those things are very important for our health. And how do we incorporate this into our innovation going forward? And then, just making sure that through all of these partnerships, we attract investment into the continent, and we put what is needed into research and development for a better healthcare system across the continent. So I think in closing, I would like to say there's a lot of work to be done. Afrolongevity is really doing a lot of things to try and collaborate with others that have been doing this for a while. The second thing is to make sure that our community is included. We are talking to governments about how do we make the regulation a bit more flexible and enable innovation to happen in the health sector. But we are also appealing through our outreach programs to the community to say, you can't just fold your hands and leave your health to somebody else. It is your responsibility. Look at what are the things that you can do now that can change, your outlook as far as health is concerned. And don't just keep the information to yourself. Share it with your siblings, share it with your family, share it with the elderly, and also tap from those elderly people in your household to see what is it that we can learn from them. So for me, I really believe that Africa can lead by example. because we can show a holistic and scalable model for longevity if we work together. And also people can, start to look at Africa in a different way, in terms of not this time around waiting for things to happen and you want to go and adopt. We can be right there on the cutting edge. We can be right there as champions in this emerging science of longevity. So thank you so much for your time. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. That was an amazing presentation. It captures all that we envision, what we are working together for on, and the clarity of direction that everyone needs to follow. I would like to read a wonderful comment from Okongwuchi Diebere. He said, we have had some institutions in Africa, such as this one, intended to make a difference for the good of Africa, or so it appeared, but only to be hijacked and sabotaged by both external and internal forces, which essentially shortchange its original purpose. I am being hopeful that the coordinators of this beautiful movement are taking proactive measures to ensure the movement is not hijacked or sabotaged in the future, thereby misalign it from its original purpose. I think that's a very wonderful message. And a lot of people that have been saying that, yes, this is one of the things, that is the essence of this training. That is the essence of, after this training, there will be a leadership training. There are a lot of ways, there are a lot of documents that we put together to ensure that we stick to the plan, we stick to the vision, that we help bring back people, bring back Africans, bring back Africans to their biodiversity and tailor them back to their evolutionary and genetic nutrition. Because when you start eating foreign, it also impacts your genetic makeups, your gene expression and all that. Because what you eat, how you live, when you eat, and when you eat makes your longevity. Of course, we know that interaction with the environment include also what you eat, and we need to work hard to ensure that we don't even contribute in and reducing our life expectancy. Brenda was able to talk about the causal effects, of of uh, factors affecting our life expectancy and what we need to do to mitigate them. It's a field, risk management is a thing. Someone asked a very important question. Please, I want to know the biggest preventative health risk affecting life expectancy in Africa today, and what can we do to cope them? So I said communicable disease and non-communicable disease and environmental factors, and then we can start with preventative lifestyle or its modulation, because when you talk about things affecting life expectancy, uh, aging, biological aging is a leading factor. So I've said this severally. And what is this biological aging? We look at damages that start from the cellular metabolic points. It damages at the micro level, which accumulates, and it becomes a disease that causes deregulations. So those deregulations becomes factors affecting our life expectancy and leading to increased mortality rates. So I wouldn't want to overburden us with those technical terms and basic terms, and which most of us know. I would quickly get to our next speakers. If you have your questions, you can drop them. Brenda was able to give us the foundation of what we want to do and how we want to do them. Our next speaker is someone that really interests me. Reason being that in a situation where most African countries are, the first time that we connected, he's a very good friend of mine, and that I've been playing in a more a little bit complex, because when you talk about the brain, his research is based on the longevity and brain. He looks at the factors affecting brain aging. And the first time we connected on LinkedIn, he said, Uti, I love the work that you've been doing in Africa, and I wish we can collaborate. And he told me what is happening in Iran, the crisis that Iran is faced. In my MBA program, I realized that the best people that make the change are the social entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs that identify problems, people that identify problems and wants to provide solutions. Amidst the challenges facing his country, he said that he wants to solve this particular problem, and he was able to take a step. He started his program, and he was one of those amazing people that came to Singapore to do some amazing program in longevity. And I was super excited. Ariane, please, before you start, I would like you to give a little bit introduction about your background and what inspired you. I believe that it might inspire a whole lot of people here too. There are a lot of undergraduates, there are clinicians here that are really interested about what we do in the longevity space. I wouldn't want to steal your show. This is your time. This is your moment. The floor is yours, my brother. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for your really, really nice introduction. It's my really great pleasure and honor to be a part of this really fascinating initiative, Afrolongevity. You're doing a really fantastic job in democratizing healthy aging in Africa for people that really need uh, some endeavors to make their health span much, much better. So I'm get fascinated by your really great introduction, and I should say that thanks to Brenda for her really fantastic lecture. She made my job really, really easier because I wanted to talk about this is the time for us to have some innovations for our continents. I'm from Asia, but I will tell you in my slides about my background that had a crossroad with Africa, Ghana, and how the African tribes, African peoples' point of view to life changed my research ideas. So I think that in line with the lecture of Brenda, I want to say that this is the best time for us to have our own words for our own continents because many longevity solutions and all those stuff in the internet, in the literature is just for the Western countries. And I assume that we have a really profound roots in aging, in how to live. Uh, I should say that both African people and Asian people, they are so resilient, so much resilient, and they know how to live in the adverse situations. So I want to share my slides. I will share my background from there.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have the permission to do that.
Okay. Now, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, I wanna in a short session, I wanna talk about some innovative solutions for counteracting brain aging. And these innovative solutions can democratize healthy aging with some less efforts, but vast influence on many people around the world. So, uh, but before that, I wanna share my background with you. As you know, I'm from Iran, a really fantastic country with a really fascinating culture and ancient roots in medicine, so to speak. So as you can see at the left of my slide, we had a really fascinating architecture that were built for sustained life and sustained environment. And for many years ago, about 2000, 1000 years ago, the Persian architecture uh, found out that we should build some sustainable architectures that can help people have healthier life and healthier influence on the environment. As you can see, Persian anti-aging remedies have a history of more than 1000 years. And we have some geriatric management in medieval Persian countries. So, why I told you about my roots? I had a really fantastic experience in summer at Healthy Longevity Talent Incubator 2025 in a beautiful country called Singapore. Uh, because of Professor Andrea Mayer and Professor Hans May, as I know that Osinakachi know her, uh, they gathered uh, 40 talents from all around the world, from around 30 countries, to live together for about 12 days and thinking about how can we have some innovative projects to democratize healthy aging in Singapore and beyond that in the world. So during this incubator, Professor Hans May, as you can see him on the right side down in the downside of the slide, he had a really fascinating experience in Ghana. He was a practitioner in Ghana, and for many years, he tried to accelerate the healthcare system and the um, prosperity of living in Ghana. He, during his lectures, he talked about his experiences in Ghana, and more distinctly, he talked about how people in Africa and in Ghana watch and sees life. What is their point of view about living? What was their impression about healthy living, and how family and how tribes can change the social architecture of healthy aging in Africa, so to speak. So uh, that was really rich experience for me to think about healthy aging should get democratized in all continents in line with their culture, with their own culture, with their own experiences. And I know that Africa, as one and only Jasmine Smith, in a fantastic quote, told that Africa is not simply a place to study disease. It is a source of knowledge about resilience, long life, and healthy aging. This is so fantastic because I should say that this is totally resonates with how we experience life in Iran. Iran is a country that faced many socio-political issues, many wars, many ups and downs, but people are so resilient. People know how to live. People know how to have social connections with their family, with their friends. And family is so important in my country as like as Africa. So I should say that being resilient and living our lives is in our DNA, same as Africa, same as Asia. So we don't need some fancy technologies, biomarkers to know how to live. No, we have a root. We have a rich culture in Africa, in Asia. So we should take a look at our own culture and our own situation. As you can see, the selenium status in Africa is not that promising, and many children, many women are um, um, have a low selenium status. So um, as you can see, my idea after the talent incubator was how can we take a look at our own roots, our own situation, then we find a solution that it is affordable, it is feasible, and actionable for a country that needs a low funds, but it can impact many people of a country. So I came upon an idea. Why don't we uh, take a look at micronutrients? Why? Because um, in parentheses, I want to say that studying brain can be so much expensive. It needs lots of high-tech imaging machines, MRIs, and all those stuff. But if we uh, take a look at our situation and came upon some innovative ideas and uh, make those actionable, that would be really great because we can democratize brain aging in the low income countries. Because now, counteracting brain aging, it's a fancy term in many countries, as like as Iran, because we are a low income country. We cannot have some routines for our brains to make our brain healthy. So, in the next slides, I wanna share with you a powerful micronutrient called selenium, as it is overlooked, but it can have a fantastic influence in counteracting brain aging. Okay, let's have a holistic view for how selenium can make your brain more healthy. Okay, uh, as you know, we have two forms of selenium. It is inorganic selenium and organic selenium. So, organic selenium, like selenoproteins, can be can be so beneficial for our body because it can counteract uh, oxidative stress, neuroinflammation. It can help your brain to make some synapses. And beyond that, it can help your brain to grow new neurons or new cells called hippocampal neurogenesis. And in conjunction with that, uh, uh, selenium can act neatly, really fantastic in um, uh, delivering selenium to the hippocampus by selenoproteins. Okay, so we have something called selenoproteins that can deliver selenium to the hippocampus. And hippocampus, that it is a region in the brain that can uh, make your brain function better and have a better memory and cognition. And also, it can have neurogenesis. It is one of the only regions of the brain that can grow new cells. Okay, so it is so important for our brains. After that, selenium also can help your mitochondrial health. As, as you know, one of the hallmarks of aging is mitochondrial health. So, with that trajectory, selenium can enhance your brain health, so to speak. And also, it can mitigate inflammation by reducing activation of some cells, some immune cells in your brain called microglia. So imagine this is microglia. If it has some abnormal function, it can it can damage your neurons in the brain, and it can damage your brain in a really comprehensive way. So selenium can reduce the function of this immune cell and help the brain to have a better function. Okay, and beyond all of these biological trajectories, I should say that we have some disparities in selenium levels across the globe. And it is much um, important in Africa because we have a really significant selenium deficiency in Africa. And public health initiatives should focus on food fortifications and promoting selenium-rich diets. And we will discuss that in the end of our slide as well. And I should say that we don't have no clinical trials right now in the literature that focusing on the association between selenium and brain health. And it is so surprising. It is so much surprising because we are overlooking the basics of the health and we are reaching to some fancy biomarkers and fancy technologies. And if we focus on these basics of health, I know that we can achieve really great results because the body know how to sustain its own hemostasis. Okay, I want to shortly talk about how selenium in the brain can function to preserve the generation of new cells. As you can see, selenium can function through several pathways such as BDNF, MAPK, mTOR, NF-kappa B, and NRF2. If someone is familiar with these pathways, all of them together um, are the pathways that can help the brain to counteract some adverse situation. Okay, what are those adverse situations? For example, neuronal degeneration, glial cell dysfunctions, oxidative stress in the brain, cell death, immune activation, abnormal immune activation, immune infiltration, and lipid peroxidation. All of these adverse situations um, can make your neurons function less and consequently death of your brain cells. So with these trajectories, selenium can counteract adverse situations in the brain and make your brain more healthy. Okay, I want to focus distinctly on the hippocampus. Okay, if you remember, hippocampus is a region of the brain that is responsible for your cognition, for your memory, and more important than all is that it is one of the brain regions that can grow new cells. That our brain is really has a really short capacity to grow new cells. Okay, how selenium can act in the hippocampus. The most important part is selenoproteins. The hippocampus is rich, really rich in selenoproteins. Okay, how selenoproteins can help the function of hippocampus? Most of this function is related to antioxidant capacity, like some antioxidant called GPX4 or selenoprotein K or selenoprotein P. Also, selenium can preserve the architecture of your hippocampus, the morphology of the hippocampus. It can sustain the function of the hippocampus. So, um, taken together, selenium can counteract stress, inflammation, and lots of those adversities in the hippocampus. And it can also help to sustain the architecture of the hippocampus. And consequently, after all of these helps, it can make your brain or your hippocampus function much better and counteract aging in your hippocampus. Okay, I want to shortly talk about the cellular trajectories in the hippocampus. Um, we have we have some really fantastic cells in the brain called progenitor cells. These progenitor cells can grow to a mature neuron. Okay, and these progenitor cells are really vulnerable to the adverse situations such as stress and inflammation. So some bodyguard, so to speak, needs to guard these cells. And selenium can act as a bodyguard to these cells to keep them safe, and these cells will grow to mature neurons after time. Okay, Uh, selenium by some trajectories called NRF2, BDNF, LRP8 can help these little tiny cells to grow to a new cells called mature neurons. And these mature neurons can help you to have a better memory, better cognition, and better function for your brain, and beyond all of them, better or called healthy brain age. Okay, okay, now we know that how selenium can act in our brains. It is a really tiny micronutrient, but it can have a really fantastic impact on the whole architecture, on the cells of your brain on the mature neurons of your brain. Okay, now we know that selenium can help counteracting brain age. Now, what can we do? In other words, what is our 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 strategies for now? What is the actionable strategy? What is the feasible strategies for Africa, for Asia to help people have a better brain aging by implementing selenium in their diet? Uh, the first strategy I reached to that was a One Health approach to sustained agriculture and sustained environment. And what is One Health approach? Um, if we can, in Africa or in Asia, if we can fortify selenium in the plants or fortify selenium in the food of the farm animals, so to speak, we can, okay, if a farm animal have a rich selenium diet, the selenium goes into the meat of that animal, and we can eat that meat, and we can have a selenium rich diet. If we can fortify or insert in a plain word, if we can insert seleniums in the plants, first of all, selenium can also make the plants grow better. With the antioxidant capacity selenium have can help the plants to counteract the adverse situations and stresses. Okay, first of all, if we insert selenium in the plants, we can have much, much, much better plants in our agriculture system. And after that, if we can take out that selenium from that plants, we can bring that organic selenium in the diet of people by bringing those plants in the diet, or we can bring those selenium in the plants in some in the pharmacological side by supplementing selenium from that plants that are rich in selenium. So at the end, I want to say that with a One Health approach to um, selenium biofortification, we can grow the quality of our plants, of our farm animals, and after that, we can take that selenium from the plants, we can take the selenium from the farm animals, and bring that organic, high quality selenium in the diet of people or the supplementation. So, and with that really feasible, actionable, and low fund strategy, we can democratize healthy aging or democratize healthy brain aging for a vast majority of people in Africa, in Asia, or any other continents. In my opinion, that would be a really great strategy. So if anyone want to um, discuss about this idea, how can we reach some strategies to democratize and bring these fortification ideas in Africa or Asia, I'm available in LinkedIn, in via email. I would be so happy to uh, uh, have a visit to Africa. I got fascinated by how they have a value in family, how they how they see life, how they are resilient. So I hope that in the next months I can have a visit to Africa and also make some sustained strategies to bring those innovative ideas to democratizing healthy aging for many, many people that have hope for us as scientists. Thank you so much for your attention. I should say that again, it is a great honor and my pleasure to be a part of this initiative. Thanks to my friend Osina Kachi. Thanks for having me. That was really great.
Thank you so much, Ariane. You go nowhere. I'm gonna speak that in our Nigerian parlance. You go nowhere. So you're going to work with us in this project. You're going to be part of this project. I'm going to have a more detailed conversation with Brenda with regards to your participation. We're going to have more of this. That was an excellent presentation. I don't know why they have not made you a professor yet, but I believe that as sooner than later, you're going to be a wonderful professor. And I believe that integration of what you've just explained will start making sense to your great country. Both public and private sectors with the strategic partnership will help in translating these ideas to reality. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much.
much. Thank you
Thank you,
so
my
much.
brother. There are a couple of questions that there. I don't know. And then I think we'll be happy to take those questions. Please, if you want to ask your question, just raise your hand. If you've typed it, then I can pick them up from there. If you have questions, just raise your hands.
Thank you so
Okay,
much. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to have this presentation. I cannot read the names, but thanks to all. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so someone did ask a very important question. And what class of food can selenium be found?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question.
Mm,
The most selenium rich food is Brazil nuts. Okay.
mm,
But it's not much accessible in many countries. But after that, first of all, eggs. Eggs are great source of selenium, seafood, and also some um, meats. But you should be cautious. You should be cautious about the level of selenium you take. Okay, sure, and be sure to first search for the advised levels uh, from WHO or World Health Organization for Africa, and then take some selenium supplements or selenium diets. But with eggs and seafoods and some fortified plants, you can have a great source of selenium for yourself.
okay, thank you so much. Okonkwo Ifunanya, your question, please. Okonkwo, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was speaking, not knowing that I haven't unmuted myself. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, depending on where you're listening from.
Thank you, Okonko.
Okay. A nice presentation, Mr. Arian. I want to say thank you to the previous presenters, Professor Natasha, Professor Brenda. Thank you so much, Mr. Arian. My question is, Okay, my question is, my mom, I grew up knowing that my mom is one of the most healthiest eater I have seen in my life for over 50, 60 years. My mom takes all the supplement, all the natural food. She doesn't take refined sugar and every other thing. Even the selenium, I see it, she takes it. But my mom is a cancer survivor. Despite the fact that she was so conscious of her intakes when it comes to food. My mom still came down with cancer about 4 years ago. So my point is, I hear of healthy eating, going natural, not eating refined sugars and all whatnot. But I have come across people who are so, despite the carefulness in eating healthy, they still came down with cancer and other deliberating diseases. Then again, I know about 2 old men who are chronic smokers. These are people that smoke marijuana, cigarettes, other things. And I know majority of the time we are being told that smoking of all these substances can lead one to lung cancer. I know
Yes.
about 2 old men in their 80s and their 90s now. They are chronic smokers. They don't have cancers. But then again, I have also come across younger people in their 30s who have never smoked in their life and they came down with lung cancer. So please, can you explain this to me? Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I can see what you want to say. This is exactly what my twin brother always telling me because he don't have a good lifestyle. He eats much sugary foods and all those fast foods. And as a healthy longevity researcher, I cannot help him. Okay, so much paradox in my life right now. But I know what you mean. First of all, the first factor is that the resiliency of the bodies in different individuals could be much different from each other. The environment, the genes, and the epigenetic backgrounds, all those together can uh, can define if you can counteract cancer or you can survive the being a chronic smoker. So, uh, first of all, I'm so happy for your mom for surviving cancer and have a healthy lifestyle. But uh, I should say that uh, um, many of the resiliency levels can shape the consequences in the later life. So, in my opinion, we should focus on what we have right now. We can build some uh, great habits, healthy habits, exercises, uh, great food, and we can let it go to the destiny of what we have. Okay, uh, we cannot influence our genes, our environment that much. But we can influence. This is so actionable for us, and this is the only thing that we have right now. Okay, can I uh, uh, explain it? Understandable? That was understandable, or
Okay, I understand where you're coming from. Thank you for the explanation.
thank you.
If I may add as well, Adrian, I think that's a good explanation. So as you know, I mentioned earlier on, the thing is, that is why it's very imperative, you know, in Africa for us to have precision medicine, personalized medicine, because this way your doctor can tell you why you are prone to cancer versus another person that, you know, next to you living the worst lifestyle, is not getting cancer. You know, somebody is smoking and you have tried to stay clean your whole life, you know,
Exactly.
something small happens and then you go down, but the next person doesn't. We are very different genetically. We are influenced by different internal and external factors differently. So therefore, you cannot take a rest based on how another person is doing. So your health is about you, and you need to, just because you don't know. And another reason why we are saying that preventative care is better, because with preventative care you would be able to go to a doctor before you get that cancer while you are still healthy, to say, what is it, what am I at risk for at this point? What is it that I can do that I can't do, versus another person who is just living their lives like that. So there is another example, and I'm glad that you asked that. Another example why some of these interventions become very important for each and every one of us.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much for your great explanation. That's so logical to prevent those consequences before the onset of that diseases. And I guess that we can reach that uh, years that we can prevent those consequences really efficiently in every countries.
Okay, thank you so much. Victor Oka, your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Good evening from here in Nigeria, Port Harcourt, precisely,
Can
in
hear
River
you.
State. Can you hear me?
Yes, Victor.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Dr. Danesh, for this presentation and all the other speakers. In fact, it's been quite exciting. So my question goes thus. When you talked about the sources of selenium, you dwelt more on the organic sources. You didn't talk about the inorganic inorganic sources for selenium. And I know you did also mention that of course the organic um, sources for selenium well, you implied that it's better through organic sources. I would also like to know the inorganic sources for selenium. That's one. Secondly, from when you talked about the brain health and all of that, and um, you talked about the hypothalamus, hippocampus, where that part of the brain where selenium is concentrated. Now, I remembered one of our local delicacies in Nigeria. It's called nkwobi. I'm from the southeast, where we use goat head, to make a local delicacy. So, will it be very, I mean, this just encourages me to say, okay, Victor, go ahead, eat more goat's meat, which they use part of the brain to make the sauce and all of that, because from what you just said, it means the brain, to be precise, the hippocampus is
Yes.
rich in selenium. Would that be very, very correct to,
No,
indulge
no,
in
it's not.
okay.
Thank you, Victor. You raised a really, really great question. Um, I can send you our paper to read that completely. But in short, uh, first, I want to talk about your first question. Why I mentioned organic selenium and not inorganic selenium? Because the bioavailability of inorganic selenium it's really low. Okay, or in other words, in plain language, if we take inorganic selenium to our body cannot absorb it that much. Why? Because I want to link that to your second question. the hippocampus, as you mentioned, is not rich in selenium, is rich in some proteins called selenoproteins. Selenoproteins is the combination of the selenium molecules and proteins. And that selenoproteins can have antioxidant function in hippocampus. So we don't have selenium directly in the hippocampus, but we can have the changed form of it called selenoproteins, and more distinctly selenoprotein P, that is much dense in the hippocampus than other type of selenoproteins. So if I want to look back at the first question, if we take organic selenium, that one of its forms is selenoprotein, our body don't need to change that type of selenium to the available selenium that our body can absorb it. So if we take organic seleniums, that is much more efficient than inorganic seleniums. Can I show you that point of taking organic seleniums or not? Is Victor, can
Yeah.
you hear my
Yeah,
voice?
I think, yeah, that was a
Yeah, thank you very much.
that was a
Okay,
very
thank you, Victor.
that was a very wonderful explanation, Aria. And I'm going to do a recap after the last question from Chisom before we wrap it up. Chisom, go ahead with your question.
Okay, good day, everyone. Chisom from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. My question is already in the comments. I just want to say it here. I love growing my vegetables in the comfort of my home. And first of all, thank you so much to our speakers. Thank you, Arian, and the rest of the speakers. It has been an amazing moment here learning. So like I said, I grow vegetables at home, and hearing about selenium and how we can fortify our plants. I just want to ask, how
Only
can
for
I
in all the
practically do this? How
right.
can I do this practically and affordably?
Uh-huh. Okay, first of all, the fortifying selenium is not my expertise. Okay, but in my opinion, fortifying foods. But I should say that I'm not expert in this field. But if we want to have affordable fortifications of food, unfortunately, in my opinion, we should do it in a vast growing industrialized uh, farms. Okay, not in our house, in our own farms. Okay, but I should read about it for some practical strategies of our own initiatives. So if you want, I can read about them and send them for you. But for now, I think that unfortunately, fortification of food in plants, it's not that affordable to do it personally, and we should do it in a industrialized uh, huge masses.
Thank you so much. I get this 100%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother and friend. Thank you so much, dear participants. This was, in fact, I'm super excited about this moment. We worked for this. We ensured that this happened, and here we are today. To start with, I would like to do a little bit of breakdown because there are some persons that don't understand the scientific and clinical terminologies that Ariane used. Yeah, he tried his best to make sure that he explained it in such a way that we all grasp what he was saying. In simple terms, he was trying to explain that our brain age faster when it's exposed to oxidative stress, inflammation, and mitochondria damage, right? And that the mitochondria, the powerhouse, using Aubrey terms, Aubrey call it the powerhouse, or the power generators inside our brain cell that produces the energy our brain needs to think, remember, and stay sharp. So when the mitochondria becomes weak, the brain becomes more vulnerable to diseases like dementia, memory loss, confusion, and early cognitive decline. So where selenium comes in is to help your mitochondria works properly by reducing oxidative stress and order. So that's what, in simple terms, he was trying to explain. I'm going to share the paper with us. We're going to study together. We're going to prepare those that missed some parts of the presentation due to network connection, and they're going to have access to the presentation. They are also going to have access to the complete class. So we continue tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys. I wish us all the best. Tomorrow is going to be more fantastic. Today was excellent. Ariane, thank you for making out time to be with us, though it's very late where you are sitting. Brenda, thank you so very much for your time. I know that I'm abusing you, so you've been moving from pillar to post in recent time. Thank you so much. Please take good care of yourself wherever you are sitting. Don't tell the world how I have been using you lately. So it's for our own good.
Thank
Please,
you, Audrey, and
this
thank
is
you, Ariane.
yeah,
And thank
this
you,
is a call
everybody.
for action.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a call to action. When you are called upon, tomorrow it might be because we are all potential leaders, might be representing your state, your country. You'll be asked or charged to organize events like this, do a workshop in the village, because we're going to take this to the remote areas. We're going to take this to the villages. When we get to evolutionary and genetic nutrition, I'm going to talk more on this, what Ariane did mention, talk about how we are going to get this from our indigenous food. And we have selenium in our indigenous food. So I'm going to talk more on that. So we're going to have a lot of conversation with regards to this. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, good morning, good afternoon, good night, and do take good care of yourself. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.